Hey brothers, this is Vince Ford, Spring 85 OmegaPsiPhi chapter, life member, former bossless of OmegaPsiPhi chapter, former vice bossless, former KRS, keeper records and seal. I also Omega Man of the Year, the Citizen of the Year twice actually, and served 2 terms as the Dean of Pledges back during the Lampados Club process.
Brother Ford, when was the first time you noticed Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated?
I first started noticing the Omega Psi Phi fraternity through the work of people like Milton Kempson, who was my assistant principal and principal at Carver Elementary. And I admired him the very day that I actually met him. And then looking at people like Kay Patterson, Senator Kay Patterson, and Jim Clyburn, Congressman Clyburn, and others. And I started noticing that there were Omega men that were doing phenomenal things in our community. And so I got turned on by that, not only by about the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, but about those African American men who were doing phenomenal work in our community.
Brother Ford, what or who sparked your interest in joining the organization?
Well, a lot of men, and I expressed interest because I was appreciative of what they were doing in our community, and as I started studying the fraternity, I started seeing that there were men all over this country, in fact all over this world, who were doing phenomenal things. And so I decided that at the appropriate time it was something that I wanted to be a part of. And so people like Milton Kempson and Kay Patterson and Jim Clyburn, again, just to name a few. And then my really good friend and childhood friend Bernard Mackey. I would buy my cards from Ed Baker, and I'd go to his office, and I'd see he'd have an Omega Psi Phi sign in his office. And so I became very inquisitive about it and started learning more about it. Just didn't want to be a part of something. I wanted to be a part of something that was doing something. And I liked the fact that as I studied, social action and scholarship were key components of our fraternity. And those were things that turned me on, and I wanted to be a part of it.
When were you initiated into the organization?
So I started in the Lampados Club and was initiated spring of '85 in the OmegaPsiPhi chapter. What a phenomenal opportunity for me. I learned so much. I'd learned that it was not just about physical abilities, but what I learned more than anything else was the mental and emotional challenges that I could accomplish because I became a member of our fraternity.
Brother Ford, what was the initial impact of the organization?
So I learned so much, and the impact, the major impact that I still carry with me today is that I have the ability to accomplish anything that I put my mind to, because the fraternity taught us more about not only learning and being intellectually strong, but being emotionally and mentally strong. And so the challenges that I faced in life after that became easier because of the challenges that I had to go through to become a member of the organization. And I'm not even speaking of physical challenges working out in the community. It was really about my mind and how to out intellectualize someone, how to create a competitive advantage, how to outthink someone, how to figure out what is coming and anticipate what I needed to do. all of those things I learned during the pledge process, and it helped me, and it still helps me to this day. After all of these years, I often reflect back during my time when I did pledge, and I said, you know, if I could accomplish that then I can accomplish this now. And it was so important. So that is phenomenal, a phenomenal part of the whole pledging process.
Describe the political climate during this time. What major world changes were occurring, and how much has the world changed since your initiation into the organization?
The world is constantly changing, and that's something that we all need to be prepared for. 10 years from now, we'll look back and we'll see that the world has changed. I mean, if you go back to the 80s, there were no cell phones. There were very few people, when I was in college, had computers. I remember still typing my term papers on a typewriter. And so the world has evolved, in my view, for the better. Things are much better now. But even though with those changes, there's still a lot that needs to improve. Like as we speak, we're dealing with social injustices. We're in the middle of a pandemic, something none of us have ever seen and hopefully will never see again. We're dealing with immense poverty. There are people who go to bed every night who are hungry. We're dealing with people who are disenfranchised and marginalized. And so while we've made some progress as African Americans, there's a lot more progress that needs to be made. And there are too many of our people that have been left behind, and we can't stop until everyone has made progress. So there's still a lot of work for us to do. And I'm happy to be a part of the fraternity because we're out there on an ongoing basis, cleaning up the highways, feeding people, doing clothing drives, providing scholarships, mentoring, and doing all of those kind of things that will help our community out. And I'm convinced that people are better off in our community because of our fraternity, the Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
Brother Ford, what offices and or positions have you held within the organization?
Well, I'm proud to say that I have served as bossless for a few years, vice bossless under Ed Baker. I was keeper records and seal, which I think is the position that helped me really learn the fraternity because it put me in direct communication with the international headquarters. I served as assistant KRS. I served as scholarship chair 1 year. I served as dean of pledges. I'm proud to have been the Omega Man of the Year, which I think is the highest honor that I have with all the trophies and plaques that I've received. And I've also been awarded Citizen of the Year twice from the fraternity, and Citizen of the Year from another chapter. I'm a life member, proud to be a life member, and I've been a financial member from the time that I crossed the burning sands, and will be for the rest of my life. It is probably the most important organization that I belong to, along with the NAACP, because it's about empowering our people. It's about helping others. A lot of people look at fraternities from the outside in and they think it's about wearing colors and dancing and stepping. That's not why I joined the fraternity. I love purple and gold, but it's really about the things that we do to help others. That's what it's really all about. In fact, the Bible tells us in Philippians that it's really not about helping yourself, it's really about how you help others. And that's what I think our fraternity embodies. It's about helping other people. And we're always doing that. On Saturday mornings, during the week, we have adopted a number of schools. We adopt a highway. We get out and we clean up the highway. We provide Thanksgiving baskets, Christmas baskets, clothing drives, mentoring, thousands of dollars of scholarships. And we are life members of the NAACP. We provide funding and services to all of our schools, or a lot of our schools, and more importantly, throughout our community. So that's what it's all about. And that's why I wanted to be a member of our fraternity, because I watched people like Milton Kempson. I actually learned how to do public speaking watching Milton Kempson. And if there's one thing that I really appreciate about him, was he did not have a problem speaking truth to power. And I was turned on by that. And I watched people like Judge Perry, Matthew Perry, who helped with the Briggs decision, the 54, what we call the 54 Brown decision. But watching Judge Perry, who attended South Carolina State Law School, by the way, because they would not allow him to go to the University of South Carolina Law School. I watched people like Jim Clyburn, who started at the Human Affairs Commission and then worked his way all the way up to Majority Whip of South Carolina. And one of my favorite brothers of all time is Senator Kay Patterson. because I remember when he would speak, and he would speak truth to power. He was one of the first who would speak to bringing down the Confederate flag. And he had a newspaper called Expressing Myself, and he would express himself in a way that sometimes people liked it, sometimes people didn't. But he told the truth. I learned how to win from people like Ed Baker. Ed Baker is a mentor of mine and a brother who I highly respect. Jim Felder, one of the smartest brothers that I know. And I haven't even gone outside of Columbia or South Carolina, because that list would then grow exponentially. But I learned from even some of the younger brothers, like who have joined the fraternity, who put their hearts and soul into helping the community. And really, that's what it's about, man. It's really about what do we do to help others. That is what and why I joined the Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
What does the future hold for Omega Psi Phi?
The future is extremely bright because we have young, energetic, talented young brothers who come in, and then they understand the importance of continuing to build the fraternity by doing it community by community. And I'm turned on by the fact that we can pass the baton, pass the mantle to the younger brothers to help continue to improve our community. So I'm excited, to be honest with you. I love being, I'll just use a term. At some point in my career, I was a leader, and now I'm a follower. And I love following the younger brothers who are leading us to do all the things that we're doing, and much more than we did before. So I think the future is extremely bright, and it is all based on individuals. You get the right person to come into the fraternity who has the views and the morals and the ideas, and they're ready to go to work, and they don't hesitate, and that's really what it's all about. And it's about stringing all these generations together, and when you do that collectively, and you move a community forward. And I'm always proud when I'm driving around and I see a brother, and I see something on his car that would indicate a brother. And the thing that I really like, sometimes I tell people, you can engage a person in a conversation in the midst of a whole lot of people, and a brother will know that that's a brother just based on his conversation. And when you're flying through the airport and you see another brother and they just give you a nod, that means a lot, man. It really does. So I think the future is extremely bright, and I'm excited about it, passing the mantle on to the next generation of brothers.
What is your message to the brotherhood?
My message to actually to all of mankind, but especially to my brothers, is continue the legacy of our four founders. Continue doing work in our community. Continue lifting up your families. Continue staying strong in your faith, and continue being true to the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. I believe if you do all of those things that I just mentioned, I believe that our community will be a good place to live. It'd be a good place to work. It'd be a great place to play, and an excellent place to pray. And I want to encourage everyone to continue to do those things that will continue to make us proud. And all I can say to you is, take care, brothers. Take care.